In round 22 of the Winfield Cup between St George and Penrith, with today's match coming from the famous Sydney Cricket Ground. 22 and 23 points respectively. That's where they sit on the premiership ladder going into the game, and both teams absolutely desperate for a win to keep their final 5 chances alive. They met back in May in round 9. That was at Penrith, and the Panthers were too good, winning 22 points to 6. The Dragons, they come into the match after their hard-fought win last weekend over the Magpies. And here's their team: Burgess, Walford, O'Connor, Johnston, Johns, Linane, Haddock, Selby, Funnell, Fafita, Young, Guider and Walsh. For the Panthers, they come into the match after a sensational 11-all draw with Manly last weekend. Here's their readout: Lydiard, Green, Izzard, Wolf, Gonzalez, Clements, Alexander, Van der Voort, Houghton, Izzard, Goodwin, Simmons and Gerard. Same team, isn't it? Almost. The referee for this all-important St George Penrith clash, the man who did so well, I thought, last Monday at Belmore, Bill Harrigan. Alexander to kick off as Penrith run left to right. Running into the Randwick end of the ground, and immediately a knock-on from the St George number 5. Johns knocking on just outside his own line. Brought about by their own doing. Very big push by the Dragons. A penalty to Penrith, though. Loose arm in the scrum is the order for the differential penalty. Alexander just chipping it back about 7 metres to put more space between his side and the defence of St George. Goodwin. It's the 10-metre line that he's tackled on. Van der Voort, Simmons, a cutout ball, picking up Lydiard. Tackler was Johns. Van der Voort. Evans above, he got very close, too close for comfort for St George. Simmons, Alexander, Gerard. Strong performer last Sunday. Alexander, a kick across the ground, looking for a fast wingman, but can't find one available at the time. Line drop out. This is Funnell, the number 9 for St George, kicking into the no-ball corner. Finding it 32, 33 metres from the Penrith line. It's now or never for St George, that's for sure. This is John Fafita. Guider's the dummy half in 12. Now it's Walsh. And that whistle sounds again from Harrigan. They're inside the 5, the Panthers, and a presentation 2-pointer for Mike O'Connor, the St George sharpshooter. O'Connor's kick from right in front, 22 out. It left the boot beautifully. The flags are in the air. The points are on the board. St George 2, Penrith yet to score. NEC big game from the SCG. Haddock goes to the right. They're running in towards the old Paddington Hill as Funnell stands and gets it back to the little Guider. Then to Haddock, and he's swamped by Izzard. Craig Izzard, he had to knock the little bloke over. Ball and all, that he did. Guider trapped a dummy half, stands, gets it back for Linane, sees an opening, goes for it, up to the 10-metre line. O'Connor jinks and tries to pirouette out of a tackle, but he's held on that 10-metre line. Still some tackles remaining in this set of 6 as Linane gets it to Young, hit and spin, back for Selby, similar ball, out wide. Walford didn't move with the urgency that I thought he should have, even though he still might score a try. No, Linane gets the ball away. Great hands, Brian Johnston. Brian Johnston is 2 metres from that corner. Played there in the Paddington Hill corner, through to Haddock, and again a swamping tackle by Clements. It was required, it was delivered. Played back to Johns. Johns is tackled 8 metres from the Penrith line. Saints leading 2 points to 0. Guider goes from dummy half, gets the pass back. It's dived on by Johnston. They lost about 12 metres. Van der Voort was the tackler. The tackle sickened Johnston just a little. Now it's Walsh who goes back to make up the lost leeway, and he's tackled 5 metres in from touch on the hill stand side of the ground. This is the last tackle, along to Linane. Linane puts the grubber in. Izzard reads it well, takes it on the bounce and runs it back 15 metres from his own line. And so it's Chris Houghton. Houghton's over the 22 line. Pulled down by Selby. Match comment, Graham Hughes.
Well, as Billy Anderson was saying, a lot of pressure on the backs out wide in this game. St George were trying to continually wrap the ball 2 and 3 times the one direction, then bring the ball back out wide to try and catch both Kenny Wolfe and Brad Izzard out of play. And likewise, the Panthers have been trying to do the same thing with St George. St George play a left and right defence. We've mentioned it before on air quite a few times that O'Connor and also Brian Johnston getting caught on different sides of the football field, and that's where the break should be coming out wide.
You're watching the NEC big game, and if you'd like to see Australia and England do battle in the 3rd test on this year's Kangaroo Tour to the UK, look for the NEC footy trivia game in tomorrow's 8-page NEC League lift-out in the Daily Mirror. As Izzard off the ground, a catch and a pass in one motion. This is Green to the 22 line. Roy Masters watching on as it comes to Kenny Wolfe now. He gets inside the 22. So it's Penrith's turn to put some pressure on St George. Played back to Simmons. Houghton takes it ahead. Simmons back in behind to play the ball is Craig Izzard. He's about 6 metres from the line. Penrith very deliberately working up for a set play. The kick ahead. Lydiard will score. That's a try, I think. I think he'll give a try. Whether in fact he ground it with the satisfactory downward pressure required, that remains to be seen on the head-on replay provided by NEC. No doubt it's inside the dead ball line. No doubt Lydiard's hand goes to it. But did he ground it with downward pressure? See it again.
Well, Greg Alexander's refrained from running himself, but he's such a dangerous player that he pulls plenty of defence. Here was the little kick through. Lydiard followed it up, and on that replay, he did get the ball down.
No question, it's a try. A good ruling by referee Bill Harrigan. He only saw it once. We're looking at it for the 4th time. The Diamond Vision screen apparently replaying out the try. It brought a hoot and a holler from the St George fans, maintaining that maybe he didn't force it correctly. But I believe it was a fair try. Bill does too. It's Penrith 6, St George 2. Simmons, Alexander, Clements, Izzard, Clements, Alexander, little sprint, Goodwin over the halfway, a run of 15 metres for the prop, stands, Simmons, Izzard, Brad with the ball now. And a good piece of football by Penrith as they kept the ball alive, promoted it some 25 metres, and now through 3 sets of hands to Ken Wolfe and back inside for Houghton. Houghton gets the arms up and is able to basketball it away dangerously as Johns picks it up, sweeps it to O'Connor. You can put away the glasses, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, linesmen and ball boys. Michael O'Connor is under the black dot. Well, how do you reckon Chris Houghton feels as he walks back behind the goal line? Watch this piece of play from Penrith on the NEC replay and judge for yourself how Chris Houghton, this fellow, might feel as he throws this pass, and down she comes. Johns picks it up, gives it to O'Connor, and then the flying dual international put the head back like another famous St George centre, and away he went to score a try that has levelled up the scoreline in the NEC big game.
Penrith are a side that are capable of playing some brilliant attacking football, but sometimes they push the pass when it's not on, and this was one of those occasions. The ball went over the top. It didn't fall into a set of Penrith hands, but Michael O'Connor loomed up in support of a pass after the ball had been picked up. 3 Penrith players gave chase, but they were never going to get to him. He's got plenty of pace, and he was able to do the rest.
Now Mike O'Connor attempts conversion of his own try. A sales rep, 25 years of age. He's been with St George since '83. No problems for O'Connor from right in front. And the scoreline, St George 8, Penrith 6. This is Gerard. Goodwin. Alexander. Clements, who puts the kick across the ground. Whoa, Walford! He's gone for the spectacular, and he's paid the penalty, has he not? It may have been forced by Burgess. The touch judge is standing in goal. He's ruled that it was knocked on. No, he must have ruled that it came off David Lydiard. Let's have another look at it. Roy Masters with his young Sean Masters alongside him. That's Young and Haddock on a run round, and this is Funnell using a cutout pass, and Linane. That's good football by Stephen Linane. Johnston gets a pass inside for Funnell, a head-high tackle, and it's now to Selby. And look at the big lock forward go. They're going to score again. Walford scores. A magical St George try that really came out of nothing. But if any youngsters are watching this NEC big game, aspiring to be rugby league champions of the future, have a look at some of the high tackles and see what penalty Penrith pay. Johnston, he did fantastic work to take it to there. The head-high tackle on Funnell, it's brought about, well, part of the try. There were other fellows who missed tackles. And then Selby gave it to Walford, and Walford goes in to score for the Dragons.
For mine, this is Funnell's try. He handled the ball twice. We can see that he was the man that initially got a great pass away there to Linane, and then Linane flicked it back onto Johnson, who beat a tackle. Now, St George were fairly willing here because they were showing plenty of enthusiasm to pop the pass up in their own half. Finally, it was Selby that pushed off two defenders. He looked for support, and it was Ricky Walford that had come from the wing that answered the call.
Well, Rick Walford picks up the try for St George with 6 1/4 minutes of the first half remaining. Mike O'Connor again with a simple shot at goal, and St George rocket away from Penrith to lead by 14-6 in the NEC big game from league headquarters. Still time for St George with this set of 6 tackles to put that ball over the line again. Guider takes it to within 15 metres, and coach Tim Sheens must be increasingly worried about his standard of tackling. As it goes now to Funnell, he's able to stand and offload. Lydiard gives them 6 more, but Johnston obligingly, no, he's ruled knock backwards, and he says play on with 6 more, St George. Johnston to play it on the 10-metre line, right in front of the Bradman Noble stands as Young slips under a tackle, pops it out the back, and Wolford is for Penrith. As the players now go in, Young took a right from Houghton. Goodwin goes in to lend support. Punches being thrown left, right and centre. Alexander and Haddock are having their own private war as Goodwin and Young continue to deliver punches as Ken Wolfe lies on the ground not quite knowing what the heck's going on at the moment. Interesting stuff to say the very, very least. It all came over the tackle on Ken Wolfe. He was held. It was Young who came in late. There was no need for Young's presence. Linane had put a hand on the player with the ball. That's the tackle. And then Houghton took objection. Goodwin said to Houghton, I'll take over from here. Alexander, meantime, took Haddock aside out the back and said, we'll fight this out around the back of the stadium here somewhere. A very bad head cut for Ken Wolfe. That has come off the right knee of Young.
Well, John Fafita's been sent to the sin bin, and now Craig Young is going to join him.
Saints with 2 players in the bin, both for 10 minutes. Both for 10 minutes. Well, I'm going to put it straight on you now. I think when Bill Harrigan and his touch judges look at the replay, they will agree that the sin bin was a light penalty. Hello. There goes Mr. Houghton to the 10-minute sin bin as well.
I think the sin bin's a tremendous thing when it's used properly, but if it has one problem, it's that sometimes players who should be sent from the field get the lesser sentence.
And let me add some more fuel to the fire. It's not the first time it's happened this year. The very same incident. The ball bouncing up for Burgess. Away from Lydiard. Bad tackle by him. Inside Izzard. Both of them, the brothers Izzard. Now Brad comes from behind to make the tackle. And there's the siren. And again the tempers flare. This Penrith St George match that started off more like a Sunday school picnic when it came to fieriness has really erupted in the dying seconds of this first half. Well, if he sends anybody to the bin this time, there'll be more in the bin than on the football field. Meantime, Burgess came rolling away from this incident quite groggily. The siren has sounded as you see another of the eruptions in this match on the NEC replay. Burgess was tackled from behind by Brad Izzard. He had already beaten Brad Izzard and Craig and David Lydiard. As I said in the commentary earlier, Tim Sheens, he's got to make his foundation for his halftime talk very much on the score of defence. They're letting them run. So it was just cautions all round. The score at halftime, St George 14, Penrith 6. Halftime comment, Graham Hughes.
Ray, I think you've said it all about what Timmy Sheens is going to be saying to his boys at halftime. What they've got to do is go back to last Sunday and that performance against Manly Warringah. Their defence was outstanding, and that's the sort of form that can see them make their way through to the semi-finals. St George are playing with enormous confidence because of that defence. Everybody's getting in the queue and everybody's dying to have a run with the football. And one more thing for St George, I'm sure Roy Masters will be underlining to his players and just telling them that Western Suburbs are easily in front of Balmain at halftime. That's motivation in itself to get the Saints to go out there and continue this drive to the 1986 semi-finals.
Let's take it from Graham Hughes as the kickoff takes place.
Well, Robards out there in 14. He's taken up his fullback spot. Lydiard has moved to the wing, and David Green has moved into the centre position. I did manage to sneak into the dressing room. Ken Wolfe was in a pretty bad way. When I left, the doctor was still working on him, and at that stage I think they'd put about 12 or 14 stitches into the wound.
Jeff Gerard goes up, and a penalty goes to Penrith. It's against St George for being inside the 5. And let me give you exactly the sin bin time remaining on those players. 9 minutes exactly remaining for Fafita, Young and Houghton. Now this tap will be taken, keeping in mind that Penrith have one more player than St George for the next 9 minutes. Their plan would be probably just a couple of forwards up, drawing a bit of defence, and then pushing the ball along the back line, looking for that overlap that must be there somewhere. Here's the tackle count at halftime, very much line ball, and Walsh contributing greatly to the St George defensive count. Goodwin. Well, I'm surprised at Penrith that most of these plays have been around the centre. Now it's Alexander stretching it, picking up David Green. Green gets inside Johns, away from Funnell, taken by Walsh. But that's 5 tackles gone. And only really one backline play. Alexander's kick goes down favourably for Burgess. He knocked it behind him and then he's taken back in goal. It's a line dropout. So there's the kick by Alexander. It bounces up here. Burgess doesn't take it cleanly the first time. He knocks the ball down. So play down on the St George quarter line as it comes back to Clements and then to Brad Izzard, to David Lydiard. He props off the left and goes back in and away from 3 and 4 players. He was running in an arc-like fashion as he's tackled about 25 metres out from the St George line. Simmons now passes to Gerard, and Gerard is tackled by Walsh and by Selby. and play is 20 metres out from the St George line. Penrith desperately needing points as Alexander gets it to Craig Izzard. He stands his ground inside the touchline. On tackle number 5. It comes to Greg Alexander. A long ball to Goodwin. Goodwin thinks he can do it himself, and by golly, I'll tell a man he can. Goodwin scores the Penrith try. Scoreline 14 points to 10 with the kick to come. Alexander's pass was a beauty. It found Goodwin after cutting out 2 players, and then this long, wiry Penrith prop forward leant out and put the ball down on the try line itself.
Penrith just continued to pepper away, and eventually a great pass by Lydiard came up with a try. It was Goodwin was tackled just short of the line. He could see the line in front of him, and he reached out and planted the ball down.
Matt Goodwin, the try scorer and front rower for Penrith. Here's Alexander now. 15 out just off centre. He can make it 14-12, and we've got a ball game. He's missed it. Well, no worries, I don't suppose. They're still only 4 behind in the NEC big game. The Dragons and the Panthers from the mountains. And there goes Fafita and Young and Houghton, giving us 13 by 13 as Funnell. He's only 5 metres from the line.
Willing to try then Funnell. If he'd have looked inside, he'd have found Walford, who was unmarked.
It still might come that a try is scored as Guida stops as the defence comes up. He goes back and gives it to Brian Johnston. Johnston is 2 metres out from the line. Played by Johnston. It's gone out to Big Funnell, and Funnell is, oh Jove, he's close. 5 tackles gone. There must have only been 1 blade of grass between him and the try line. He plays it back, and Guida passes to Haddock to Lenane. Lenane throws the big ball to O'Connor, then to Walford. Here's a try in the scoreboard corner. Scored by Ricky Walford off another beautiful pass by Steve Lenane. Walford gets his second, but Lenane's passes have been one of the many features of this game. There's the ball from Haddock to Lenane. Now look at this. He let it go. It must have gone 15 metres. O'Connor just caught and passed, and Walford goes in to score, and the St George side lead by 18 points to 10.
Well, Walford had backed up to play the balls earlier and should have scored a try. He hurried quickly back out to his wing. Here we can see the Penrith defence in the shape of the number 5. The winger Gonzalez came in a bit too slow when the ball started to be spread. He finished up in no man's land, and that gave Walford the room he needed.
And it's not a good kick by O'Connor. It fell way out in front of the uprights. No change to the scoreline. Saints 18, Penrith 10. Walford. He's done some good things in the match, Rick Walford. Haddock. Johns. Tackled by Gerard. Guida. Guida. There's Walsh. Walsh will score. He's over the line. Momentum took him across. No double movement. Chris Walsh scores for St George. Out go the St George girls. Their moment of delight. Certainly a moment of ecstasy for big Chris Walsh. He was topping the tackle count at half-time. He still is. But this little midget of a man, Chris Guida, who retires from the game as of this year to pursue his religious beliefs, can I put it that way? He made it all possible for Walsh. And the big front row forward scores a deserved try.
All started with some bad marker defence by Penrith that meant that players in the line had to come in and take Guida. He split through, slipped the pass to Walsh, and he charged over.
22 to 10. And I guess Penrith wishes that was the time and not the score. 22 to 10. And he gets it. So it's 24 points to 10 in favour of the Dragons. You're watching the NEC big game from the SCG. Goodwin now. Roy Simmons undoubtedly will become Penrith's first kangaroo. Foster switching it to Alexander. He's decided to slip into a hole. Howe gets a pass to Robards. Robards gets a pass back to Gary Howe, and he's flung to the ground 15 metres from the St George line. And away now to Alexander. A wide ball to Foster, then to Izzard. They've got the numbers. It's Lydiard turning it inside for David Green. He goes for the Paddo Hill corner. He's in. It's a try. Well, St George were outnumbered, but when David Green came back inside, I thought, oh, you've made the wrong decision. They had the numbers simply by promoting the football to the right like they were doing here. St George were going to run out of personnel, but then Green comes inside. There, that meant that the defence was there, but he ran right away from them. David Green scores wide out, and 24 points to 14 the score.
I thought Penrith might have bombed this. They always had the numbers, but it was very slow. Passes such as that one by Izzard and the pass inside by Foster, I thought they'd bombed it. The ball came back inside to Green. Now, there were plenty of St George players here, but none of them seemed really committed to go in for the tackle. They were looking at one another, seeing what was going to happen. The player set sail for the corner and came up with a try.
Alexander with a big kick from the touchline. 21 out. He doesn't like it. The touch judges' flags are down. And 24 to 14 the score. Saints leading Penrith. There's no question now. Penrith's tactic is just to keep pushing the ball wide. Keep pushing it. We saw 4 backs there just stand in the one place and pass it. Alexander goes to the blind, holds it back, and Robards looks for an opening, but he can't get through it. 5 gone for Penrith. Simmons goes from dummy half. He puts up the kick. Underneath it, Burgess. Oh, he's put it down. Oh dear. It's still loose on the ground. It'll be a scrum. Scrum will go down about 5 metres out from the St George line. There's no question about knock-ons against both here. There's where Penrith had their chance. Those players were both from behind the kicker. Here's a scrum won by the Panthers, and it's Foster who plays it. Simmons sweeps it to Alexander, to Brad Izzard, to Houghton. Houghton is tackled 8 metres out from the line. Can Penrith score again? If they can, we've got a heck of a finish coming up. David Green is tackled, and it's a Penrith penalty. At 24 to 14, they take a tap, and it's Gonzalez who's tackled on the first. Simmons has a running wall ready. There they go. Gerard goes up. He's within 4 metres of the line. Goodwin has run away from dummy half. Simmons has to duck in. Alexander puts the kick in for Izzard. He'll score. He'll score. Yes! Brad Izzard scores for Penrith. Twice now, Greg Alexander has put perfect kicks into the in goal. He knows it's a deep in goal at the cricket ground, a legitimately deep in goal at the cricket ground. It can be a maximum of 11, and twice now he's put players in to score, Brad Izzard being the second of them.
Alexander's always spot on with these kicks. He realised that Burgess wasn't back in the area where the fullback should have been. He put the kick through for Izzard. Izzard showed a lot of pace, came through and dropped on the ball for the 4 points.
See it again on the NEC replay. Classic football. Well, if there were some doubts about Lydiard's try early in the match, there certainly were no doubts about Izzard's. Alexander's 11 metres in, 20 metres out. Can he kick this one? It's coming around. It's gone over. It's a goal for Alexander, and 24 to 20 in favour of the Dragons. And it's Penrith who desperately need the ball. Saints looking like they're going to come out with the premiership points. Away it goes to big Pat Jarvis, and Jarvis is 15 metres away. Playing it back to Chris Geider. Blindside now for Selby to give to Burgess. Burgess, oh, he went within 1 inch of getting a pass to Billy Note. It's Selby at dummy half. They hit the blind again, and Johns is tackled. And 5 tackles have gone now for St. George. Here they go across to Haddock. He puts in a little kick, and Gerard is tackled for Penrith. A couple of metres out from his own line, and only seconds remaining now as Craig Connor is tackled. And St. George, realising that Penrith are likely to kick on an early tackle, have their halfback and their fullback, and in fact a winger standing relatively deep. As Penrith goes into touch, a scrum will form about 15 metres out from their own line.
Please keep on our Sydney cricket ground at the end of the game. Would you please keep on our Sydney cricket ground at the end of today's game? Thank you.
Scrum won, but a penalty goes to Penrith. He's got the lock. He's got Graham Wynn for breaking prior to the ball coming out. And really all the rule says is that they had more than the required or allowable a number of backs.
Well, keep your eye on Greg Alexander here. It's probably too late for Penrith, but if they've got any chance at all, he's the man that'll try something.
So there's a few Mr. Magics in this game of rugby league. One of them is out there now, but he's not going to get a chance to perform his Houdini trick here this afternoon. St. George 24, Penrith 20 for the Dragons. Walford 2, O'Connor Walsh 1, O'Connor 4 goals, and for Penrith, Lydiard, Goodwin, Green and Brad Izzard tries Alexander 2 goals. Here's Green with Roy Masters.
Roy, I think we've got to stop meeting like this. You keep on putting these finishes on.
Oh, it looks a little bit like 1983, but we're in the 5 for the first time this year, and we're very, very happy.